Welcome to the Superconscious Success Podcast, where Jen and her Superconscious Success family co-hosts bring you valuable content each and every week on topics relating to manifestation, spirituality, and most of all, using your superconscious to manifest success in all areas of your life. Now on to today's episode.
Hey there, Superconscious Success fam. Just before we get into the interview, this is just a brief message. This is actually a recording of the 2021 Superconscious Success Summit interviews. If you do want to check out the introductory for all of the guests, then you can go across to our Superconscious Success YouTube channel where you'll be able to find all the introductions. These particular podcast interviews will be the interview only. Okay, thank you. Now let's get on to the interview. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Superconscious Success Super Summit, where today we are going to be talking to Lois Favacho. If you haven't yet seen her introduction, then go across to YouTube, Superconscious Success, and take a look at it. So hey Lois, how are you going today?
I'm doing great, Jen. How are you?
Oh, I am amazing. I am really looking forward to our chat about relationships. Because relationships, whether it's romantic, whether it's business, whether it's personal, they play a massive part in our life. And so I think it's really important for people to be able to understand how they actually have control over the relationships they have in their life. And the one important relationship that's probably the most important relationship, that's the one they have with themselves. And so I wanted to first start off this interview just talking to a little bit about that important thing called self-love, because I know as a mum, sometimes we tend to put ourselves last, especially as women. And so we forget that we need to be able to love ourselves first and foremost before we can love anybody else. And so I think that it's important for us to just explain a little bit to the audience about what self-love is and why it is so crucial when it comes to our relationship with other people as well. So can you go into that a little bit for me, Lois?
Yeah, absolutely. Self-love is just loving yourself. These days, a lot of people get a little wigged out because being narcissistic is, this whole thing people are talking about. And self-love is not that. Self-love is accepting yourself exactly as you are. And if there are things that you want to change, change them. But out of a place of love and wanting to grow, so it's just really important in all aspects of everything in life, especially relationships, to love yourself first and know that you deserve a good life, deserve to be happy, and that you're just deserving.
Yeah. And do you find that a lot of the issues that we have with loving ourselves, like you said, how many people say, oh, you're so vain, or you're narcissistic, or, the comment, but you just love yourself so much. Like it's kind of like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of puts people in their tracks, and they go, well, I can't love myself too much because then I'm going to be seen to be egotistical and full of myself. But what part do you think it plays when you look into the past, the people have experienced? Maybe they've grown up in a household where love wasn't freely expressed, or they felt like they weren't worthy, or they weren't enough, or maybe they were judged frequently. Do you find that when you're coaching people, this is an issue that comes up quite a lot?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Wounds from your childhood and from your past or past relationships play a big role in where you're at today, and not being able to heal those wounds and, just get back to loving yourself and realizing it's okay to love yourself. And,
it's important to love yourself.
Yeah, loving yourself doesn't mean you have to be self-absorbed or any of those things. Loving yourself is just simply that, loving yourself. It doesn't, yeah.
And knowing that you're good enough, that you're worthy, and that no matter what anybody else says, it doesn't matter. Because
Yeah.
I often say to my kids, what other people think of you is none of your business, because the only person that we can control in our life is ourselves. And so we need to be able to love ourselves and to tell ourselves, you are good enough, you are worth it, you need to spend time on yourself. And I know myself, I'm very big into me time. I've got 2 teenagers, so me time is very important. So I think setting aside that time to be able to just reflect, and to, even if you're talking about mirror work, have you done mirror work with any of your clients?
A little bit, but not exclusively. Yeah. I think it's it's just more of a fact of being able to say, okay, I love myself. I don't, there are some things I want to change, but I'm going to very lovingly change those things because I choose to.
Yes.
Being able to listen to people, and and if they criticize you about something, think about it, but don't take it to heart. So don't be afraid to see the bad in yourself too, and say, hey, I want to change that. That's all part of self-love as well. It's not just I'm perfect, I love myself, I'm great. It's loving yourself enough to say, I can do better.
Yeah.
I'm really good, but I can be a little bit better. That's all part of self-love as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So there are so many emotions that can play a part in our lives. And when we look back at the past and how we reflect on the people that have been in our life in the past, and emotions that can really impact the relationships that we have moving forward, such as resentment and blame and unforgiveness. And often it is directed towards our parents. This can often be something that we experience as we grow up, where we haven't felt, like we said before, we haven't felt worthy. And so we take that into our future, and it can affect our future relationships. It can affect our future partners, and even how we relate to our own kids. So what part do you think emotions like that play when it comes to future relationships?
A huge part, because people forget that every single day is a brand new day for everyone, and every single day people can change if they choose to, a little bit, or move towards or away from towards something good, away from something bad. And just kind of realizing that things can change, and wanting them to change and looking for them to change is really good. So those wounds aren't going to move. First of all, you have to kind of look at the people that wounded you, and understand that they have wounds as well.
Yeah.
That they haven't dealt with. There's a saying, hurt people, right? So just being kind of understanding, and kind of looking at those people that have hurt you, and say, okay, well, what were their pains, and how come they weren't able to do better? But yeah, kind of one of those.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to it too, that that realizing that these people, they're not perfect either, and they can only do with what knowledge they have. So like you said, they're often wounded themselves, and so if they haven't actually been brought up to understand the proper ways of doing things, I suppose, if you want to put it in that way, then they're not going to know any different, are they?
No. And people that don't love themselves find it hard to love others. People that have been criticized find it easy to criticize others, because it's just what they know. And I grew up with a saying that I still live by: don't become what you hate.
Yeah.
And so many people do, they don't grow out of what hurt them. They do that to others, unfortunately.
Mm.
um, but if you can always remember to not become what you hated in other people or that hurt you, then generationally or whatever, it can change starting from today. And you put your
Absolutely.
focus. Yeah,
Today's a brand new day, and
absolutely.
we can start to work on those emotions, and because you can't find true joy until you eliminate or at least deal with these emotions that you're experiencing. Because as I said in the introduction, you've been through your share of relationship pains, which you've worked through, and that's actually allowed you to become the person that you are today. It's allowed you to now go out and help other people to have successful relationships, and successful relationships with themselves. And you do life coaching as well, so you actually allow people to figure out the best version of themselves and move forward, creating goals and intentions. And you do a lot of this through what we know as the law of attraction. And me also being a law of attraction practitioner, am a massive fan. Law of attraction, as I'm going to get you to go into, is not something that applies to certain people. It applies to everybody. So it's not something you have to necessarily believe in, but it just happens. So I'm going to get you to go into that and explain just a bit about what law of attraction is, and especially in relationship to relationships. So can you go into that for a bit, Lois?
Absolutely. Law of attraction happens. It just happens. It is what it is. The things that you are focused on, that's what you find. And where your attention goes, that's also, yeah, it grows. Yeah. So it's just what you're feeling and what you're thinking attracts to you, and how you're acting and the energy you're giving out. It attracts to you the same kind of thing. Like attracts like. So it's it's just one of those things where in relationships, if you really need a relationship, you are so needy, you do not feel fulfilled without a relationship. You need somebody to make you feel whole. You think that somebody else can make you happy. All of those things. If you go into looking for relationships or friendships even with that kind of an energy, you end up attracting people that are really needy as well. And they're not necessarily going to feed your spirit the way you wanted them to, because you've attracted that neediness, yeah. So you have to, with law of attraction in relationships, when you can come at it, looking for a relationship or friendships or trying to heal relationships from more of a whole place within yourself, knowing that, you are already happy, but this friendship or relationship would really enhance that happiness.
Yes. And I think it's about,
yeah.
I think it's also about the non-attachment in some ways, isn't it? Because like you said, if you're so needy and all you're thinking about is scarcity, and all you're thinking about is the fact that you don't have a relationship, then that's just going to bring forth more not having a relationship, isn't it?
Exactly. Oh, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And this is why self-love is so important, because if you can love yourself and go, I'm fine without it, I'm happy with who I am and with the person that I am, then you'll be able to manifest other people that are happy, that love themselves. And let's face it, we want people in our lives that are going to love who they are, that are going to also be on the path to bettering themselves and to moving forward and that sort of thing. That's something that we all want in our life. So and relationships are really tricky, because when you go into a relationship, and especially if you're talking about a romantic relationship, we often have expectations of each other, which we're kind of like a mirror, aren't we? So the expectations we have for others is what we expect of ourselves in a way. And it doesn't always work out like that. So can you go into expectations a little bit?
Yeah, it's, I mean, expectations are all part of it. We expect certain different things from our parents than we expect from our children, than we expect from our friends, than we expect from our partners. And, you know, sometimes, I mean, it's good to be really curious about that too. You know, sometimes you kind of go, okay, well, how come a friend of mine can do this and it's fine, but if my partner does it, they are in big trouble, right? So it's good to question, you know, always kind of be curious about your own expectations as well.
Yeah.
And if you're coming from a really wounded place with your expectations, that can be challenging, because let's say you've been really hurt by somebody and they did these certain things, and all of a sudden this new person in your life or this new friend, they do something similar.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden red flags go up and you're expecting that they're going to hurt you the same way someone else did because of this tiny little similarity here or here. And yeah, so you really got to be careful about
And
those
it's almost like you're punishing the other person because of something that you've gone through in the past. And I think that being able to move through those belief systems and realize that just because somebody else did that to you doesn't mean that your next partner is going to do the same thing. And I think that one of the biggest problems is the disappointment that arises when your expectations are not met. Because we have our own belief systems. We believe that it should be this way, and if it's not this way, then you're doing it wrong. When that's not exactly the case, is it?
No, not at all. And actually, if everything was perfect, like, you know, on a movie or in TV, really, life would be actually really quite boring, and nobody would grow. Nobody would grow. They would stay the same. But yeah, sometimes, I mean, the nice thing about expectations, you know, you can manage them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes I find myself getting upset about something that's happened, and I don't manage my expectations and I'll get upset. Or other times I'll just think, wait a minute, you know, think about this for a minute. And you just kind of go, really? No, this is not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's there's no problem here. So, you know, managing your expectations and just kind of realizing that, you know, you're still in control of your outcomes, even if somebody else does something different. It's like if you're going to a party or going out and you're really looking forward to it, and some people go thinking it has to be this way, this way, this way, and this way for me to have fun. But to manage your expectation, you are in charge of you, and you can say, I'm going out to have fun no matter what happens, no matter who's there, I'm going to have fun.
Exactly. And I know, being a spiritual coach myself, that we're all designed to learn lessons in life, and we all have a different path that we've got to follow. And so it's important that we recognize that those that are in our life also have their own path to follow as well. And it's not always going to align with that which we want them to do. You know, being a mum of two teenagers, sometimes you have to step back and go, okay, but what is their path? What are they wanting to do? And, you know, they're both studying, so they're doing what feels right for them. But at the same time, you have to step back and go, okay, we may want one thing, they may want something completely different. And so I think that's really important when it comes to parenting as well. Do you have many mums that you're coaching that are dealing with these issues with expectations?
Yes. Yeah, totally. And that's the thing. It's a let go, and, you know, you've done your job kind of thing. Now let them grow and be who they're going to be, which is all part of the whole relationship thing. Relationships in this world are our biggest project. They are where we learn, where we get frustrated, where it's the biggest place to learn and to really understand loving. And, especially parents, when you become a parent, you really start to understand unconditional love like never before. It's not the I love you if, it's the I don't like you right now, but I still love you.
Yeah. Many a times I think that every parent goes through where their child seems to be unlovable, but that you do, like, unconditionally you love them. And and I think that with me it's about really connecting to source and knowing that everything's fine with the kids. They're going to be absolutely fine. And as a parent, it's important to recognize that and know that they're on their own journey. And I'm a big proponent of conscious parenting, which is something I'm actually going to be doing a separate summit on that coming up later on in the year, because I think it's really important to recognize that the relationship we have with our kids is critical because of the fact that they're also our teachers as well as us being theirs.
Oh yeah, big
and
time.
I've learned so much from my kids. It's not funny, but it's and I think that's something that's really important as well. Now, something that I want to get into, which can be a little challenging for people and can hit a core sometimes, is the fear that's surrounded by removing yourself from a relationship, whether that's a friendship, whether that's a romantic relationship. And I've even known people that have had to disconnect from their own children because they found that that it was toxic, and that as they say, the life was being sucked out of them, being surrounded by these people. And we know people that have disconnected from their parents as well. But when we talk about romantic relationships, they stay in this relationship because they're scared of getting out of it. And yet they feel that they are actually moving away from each other, or they feel like it's not the best thing for them. How would you go about being able to help somebody deal with the fear surrounding that and recognize that that it may not be the best thing for them?
Well, first of all, people need to realize that at some point they've given their own power away to that other person, and they're letting them kind of control their life, and they don't feel strong anymore on their own. They don't know what to do. But it's really important. You can walk away from a relationship and still love that person.
Yeah.
And still, pray that they find healing, or, whatever. So, you don't have to you don't have to hate someone to turn your back on them. You need to walk away from that because you love yourself enough that you know that it's hurting you. And when you're hurt, then you can't help other people. And it just is a domino effect. So, just taking back your power and realizing that you are okay on your own, and that things will work out, and that there are people that are willing to help you and, give you the courage that you need to do what you need to do and help you take back your power. Because it doesn't do anyone any good, even the person that's hurting you, that is toxic, that you need to get away from. You are enabling them to continue to be toxic. And then they're not going to grow either. Sometimes people need that to be able to say, whoa, I need to change.
Exactly. And I think that's why it is so critical when it comes to loving yourself and recognizing what is best for you. And so that comes down to with myself and being spiritual, being able to connect to higher source, and knowing that the guidance that I'm getting is the right guidance. And, you know, I'm pretty blessed. I've been married for 20 years and we're still very happy. But I know that there are a lot of people out there that do struggle, and they just fear getting out of a relationship. I know in in 2020, when COVID first started, I think they said that there were more divorces than ever, which I think has a lot to do with the consciousness expanding as well, and people starting to realise that they were in toxic relationships and realising they needed to get out and start to build their life. And like you said before, you said, well, it doesn't mean that you don't still love that person. It just means that maybe you just aren't right for each other anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more toxic to stay in it than to get out of it. So that was something I really wanted to broach, because it is something that people do deal with. And like I said, not just in romantic relationships, friendships as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes we surround ourselves with friends that are maybe not the best for us. And but thankfully, because you're not around friends all the time, it's a little easier to separate, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And you know, the thing is people grow at different rates, and sometimes people catch up, and sometimes people just don't want to grow, and you're growing and they're not, and suddenly somebody's holding you back. And you know, you can
because
just
you're not in the same vibrational state too, that can often affect it, can't it?
Yeah, and especially with friends, you can just kind of very slowly let that go, and you don't need to totally leave the friendship, but you don't need to be as involved in it. And yeah, in personal relationships, it's more difficult, and you may find yourself leaving, or it may not be toxic, and you just, you know, it really depends. There's so many variables in relationships and where people are at, but that's the thing. And you've got to be in flow with yourself and with other people and where they're at, and be understanding and non-judgmental, and just really look at things and assess them. And if you're really good at listening to your own heart, and your intuition, and you need to walk away, you will know when to walk away.
It will tell you. And,
yeah, absolutely.
And the thing is, I think one of the biggest problems, as we've kind of broached over a little bit, is the issue of attachment. And when we get into a relationship, sometimes we become so attached to that relationship that we have real problem letting go of it. And so what part does attachment play when it comes to the law of attraction and being able to attract new people into your life?
I think the best thing is to know what you really want, what you really desire, and why you desire it. And then put it out there, you know, and just say, okay, universe, God, spirit, you got this. And then just let it go. Just let it go, and just live your life as if, you know, just go, it's not here today. I don't see it, but you know what? I'm okay. Things are good, and I'm going to be happy. And being happy and being grateful for that thing you want that you don't even have yet, that just magnifies it to you, you know. Absolutely. And magnifying it to you still may take years or take months, but patience.
I think what you've got to realize is that when you're talking about a new relationship and you're wanting to manifest a love of your life into your life, the other person, you may have somebody out there that is perfect for you, but that person may not be ready yet. And so we can't put a timeline on it. And we can't say, in the next week, I want to meet somebody that's, you know, this and this and this and this and this, because they may not yet be at the point to be able to allow you into their life, because they may not have detached from people in their life. They may not be at the right vibration that you're at. And so it's important that we're patient, and like you said, love yourself enough to go, I'm okay without it, and it's going to turn up when it's meant to turn up
at exactly the right time. And Yeah, and if you can live your life that way instead of, then you're coming from a place of having, and
Yes,
you're not coming from a place of lack. And people suffer because they focus on lack.
they do.
They don't suffer
Scarcity.
because of what they have, they suffer because they focus on what they don't have. And
Mhm.
so stop your suffering, find your happiness, and things come faster, but also the journey's more fun,
Mm,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
what I find, and I want to get your take on this. What is your take on scripting when it comes to your perfect partner or your ideal relationship?
I think, yeah, you can script if you want, but there again, script it, know what you want, but
But let it
don't marry the list, you
go.
know? Like just don't, because there are things that we think we want. Well, things that we want, but then we know what we want, but sometimes we don't know what we need. You
Yes.
know, we really don't know what we really need. And so you need to allow and trust that, what you need and want is going to come together. And it may not look exactly like you thought it was going to look, but it's just going to be right,
And
So,
the thing is, what we need to remember too is that if it's not the lifetime partner that we all strive for, they're in our life for a reason.
mhm,
And I've had friendships over my life that have come and gone,
mhm,
and not due to anybody's fault, but I believe that they're in my life for a purpose.
mhm.
And once that purpose is over, then you let it go and you just move on to the next part of your journey, because we're here, as I said at the start, we are actually here to learn, we're here to experience.
Mhm,
And so some people come into our life just for a short time, just to
mhm.
help us to learn those lessons that we're needing to learn.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And life isn't static. I mean, everything changes all the time. So you need to be willing to let go of things that don't serve you anymore or have
Mhm.
served their purpose, and there's nothing left there. And that's not it's all about me and I'm not getting what I used to get out of this. They just kind of naturally happen.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. And I mean, I know a funny story. Somebody that I know, she actually scripted out her perfect relationship, like what her man was going to be like, and what he looked like, and what he did, and all of that sort of stuff. And so she scripted him out, and she met him, and it turns out he was married. So
Hmm.
the one thing she did not put on her list was that he was to be single. So
Yes. Well,
yeah.
I don't think you really need, if you're really putting it out there
Yeah.
to an all-knowing universe, I don't really think that you have to put that on there, but you need to ask the question, because
Yeah,
yeah, there might be 20 people that are your perfect guy, but only one of them is really your perfect guy for you, you
absolutely.
know? And
Absolutely.
yeah,
And the universe does listen to us.
yeah,
And especially listens to our feelings and our emotions. And this is
totally.
what we need to recognize, is that how we feel on a daily basis, we're all going to go through periods of sadness or anger or whatever, because we're human, and our ego has a big part to play in that.
Hmm.
But if we can integrate as much joy as we can, I know with myself, I've actually said to my family that that I try to stay on a reasonably high vibration, because I feel better doing that. And I'm pretty blessed. I'm grateful for everything I've got in my life. But I say to them, if you're in a bad mood, stay out of my space, please, because because I don't need it. And the
Yeah.
funny thing is that when you're staying at a high vibe, they will naturally stay away, because I don't know what it is, and especially with teenagers who have hormones going through their bodies and they go through ups and downs like crazy. Um, when you're in the vicinity of somebody that is a high vibration and you're not at that level, it's actually quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's actually something that you don't want to, because I've been there where I've been in a little bit of a sadder place, and then I've been around people that are like high vibe, and it can be a little bit uncomfortable, and so you'll find that you won't attract those people towards you if you're in that high vibration. You'll attract more people that are high vibe, because they'll be comfortable there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And everybody's that's the whole thing. If you're happy, the whole thing is about being happy, and happiness brings you more happiness.
And it's a choice, isn't it? It is a choice to be happy. Do you want to be happy? Yes, we have stuff we have to work through, but it's a choice. I can either be happy or I'm not happy, and I know what I choose.
Yeah. Oh yes. I mean, I find myself in moments where I'm sitting there, going over all whatever's bad or whatever's wrong, and I feel really down, and I go, whoa, wait a minute. I don't want to be here. And I make the
this
choice.
Doesn't feel good.
No, I make the choice, and I go, no, change what you're thinking about. Think about all the good stuff. And it really makes a huge difference, And
a trick that I with me is, if I'm feeling a little bit down, or it's not the great day. I mean, obviously you can go and listen to some amazing music, you can dance for a bit or whatever. But if you're not in that place, I find just smiling, even if you just have to fake a smile, because you can't actually, they've actually studied, you can't actually smile and feel sad at the same time.
Yeah, no.
Because it just works on two different parts of the brain. And so even if you have to force a smile, sometimes it can just change your whole direction. And it can help to build that gratitude that we have for all the stuff that we have in our life. And even if that's something as simple as, I'm grateful that I got up this morning, or I'm grateful the sun's out tonight. Tonight. Oh my gosh. My son came to me this morning at 4:00 this morning, and he goes, "Mum, I'm going to go for a walk." It was still dark outside, and but he was, he just felt like going for a walk. This is teenagers, they wake up at strange times, they go to bed at strange times, all sorts of. And so I said, "Okay, I'll go with you." So I was grateful for that time that I had with him, because he's 18, and there's not many 18-year-olds that still want to spend time with their mum. So I'm quite grateful for that. So just find the little things that you can be grateful for. Can change that whole vibration.
It can. And especially in relationships, when you, one thing I want to make sure and touch on is resentments, I mean, it's easy to build up resentments when something goes wrong in a relationship, and your expectations were that it was going to go one way and it went another way. And all of a sudden you're very resentful, and you don't want to let that go, because let's face it, every human being needs to feel heard and understood. And you didn't feel that way. So you're going to, and that's what keeps the resentment going, is because you never felt heard or understood, and you still want to feel heard and understood. But the whole time, you're ruining the relationship, because this resentment is there. And what used to be fun and laughter is now buried behind this wall of resentment and
unforgiveness.
And you really need to understand that it's, how you can be heard and understood in a different, very gentle, loving way by them, but still let go of that resentment and not bring it up anymore, and forgive yourself for resenting them, forgive them for whatever they did. And then, and this happens with kids a lot too, right? And then you can enjoy walks like you did with your son today, because you let this stuff go, because it doesn't serve anybody,
Yeah. And I think one of the big things is that of blame and of not taking responsibility for your own life.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that, teenagers are very good at this because their brains are not developed till they're about 24 years old. So that's just natural for them. But as we become adults and we start to blame other people for where we are, it's their fault that we're here, and it's my parents' fault that I'm in this situation. And it's really important that we take responsibility for where we are and stop blaming other people for your situation, especially as you become an adult. And we have control over our lives, don't we?
Yeah. And that's the whole thing too. It's you reach a certain point where it's totally your responsibility where you're at. And yes, maybe your childhood sucked and maybe things would have been easier for you and maybe you would have gotten ahead better, but you need to start where you're at and
Yep.
take full responsibility. And from that day forward, when things go wrong in your life, you may say, okay, that pain didn't help from my past, but this was my choice. I did this.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and once you're able, that's when you're blaming other people, you're also giving away your power
You are.
without realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important not to give away your power, because then you feel like you can't change your life for the better, and that's all part of it. So
We
yeah,
need to
really
reclaim.
important.
We need to reclaim that power, because
Yeah.
we are the only ones in control of our life, and we can
Yeah.
do whatever we want with our lives. God and Source has put that within us.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to be able to believe in ourselves, and to, as we said, love ourselves and know
Mm-hmm.
that we're worthy of whatever we desire. And that's how the universe works, and that's how the law of attraction and the other universal laws also play a part in us manifesting things into our lives, relationships and otherwise. So that's fantastic. I'm really glad that you built on resentment and unforgiveness and blame, because, as I mentioned, they are emotions that can really have a massive impact in
Yes.
relationships.
Yeah, they can destroy really beautiful things. And,
Yeah.
we
As
have
many as
control
go.
over. Yeah, so let it go. Just let it go. And, have a discussion about it in a very gentle way if you ever need to, or just let it go.
Yeah.
Either or. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
we'll just very briefly, we'll go into business relationships, because this does also apply to business relationships. And with the law of attraction, I know that myself, I've manifested incredible people into my life, including all of you amazing speakers on part of my speaker family. And so what part does everything that we've spoken about today, all the principles of healthy relationships, play when it comes to business relationships?
There again, it's loving yourself. And in business relationships, it's important to have certain boundaries. As in all relationships, business wise, it would be, yes, I'm available from this time to this time, but no, I'm not available for you then.
Yeah,
That's outside of or yes, I will work for you this amount of hours for that amount of money, but then no, that's the cutoff. Um, and also just a matter of forging a respect like you do with any individual. And in business, it's a bit different, but you know,
yeah,
respect your own opinions, respect your own business, the way you think about the business and the way things are going with that business person, with your business partners, and have them respect you as well. And if they do cross that line, then nip it in the bud really quickly, but gently.
yeah.
Be understanding that they're only human too, and
And
yeah, just
like with personal relationships, put out to the universe the sort of people that you're wanting to come into your life, the
yeah.
people that you want to collaborate with, And I know when I'm looking for speakers for the summits, I'm very intuitive with who I select, because I need them to be of a high vibration as well. And if you put it out there and you know exactly the sort of speakers that you're wanting or the sort of collaborators you're wanting, then they're the people that are going to come into your life. And so it works in exactly the same way as what personal relationships do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And see, and I had put stuff out there too, and you found me, and I was like, whoa,
There
this
you
is
go.
awesome.
There you go. It is awesome. And
It is.
you know, you don't know the people that are out there and the amazing people that I've come into contact with, and the amazing people you're going to come into contact with as part of the family as well, because my purpose is connection in this world, and I want to be able to connect like-minded people together that can help each other to and help the world to expand that consciousness that we're looking for. So you are doing a brilliant job helping people with relationships, because like I said, they are very important in our lives. But the one that we really, really need to focus on is that relationship with ourselves. And also with our higher self. So it has been incredible today. Is there anything else that you would like to broach on, or do you think we've pretty much covered it?
I think we've pretty much covered it, and just just love. Just that's the big thing. Love yourself, and if there's ever a situation with another person, and you're not sure how to approach it, always ask myself, what would love do?
Yeah, exactly.
What would love do? And I think that can really heal a lot of stuff. So yeah.
I think I need to make that my screensaver. What would love do?
Yeah.
every time you start to feel that little bit of resentment or that little bit of anger building inside or whatever, then you can just look back and go, what would love do? Love would not feel like this.
Exactly.
Right? So fantastic. Now, do you have something that you would like to share with the audience? Do you have some information you could give them about your services or anything like that? Do you have a special gift for them?
Yes, the special gift is actually just expanding on more about what we've talked about today about written. So you kind of have a cheat sheet.
Fantastic.
And expanding that. And a special offer, which we'll just put at the bottom of the speaker screen. Is that where it's going to go?
Yes, I'll have it in the, it'll be in the actual presentation, but I'll also have it in the playbook that will be given to them. So they will be able to look back at your page, and we'll have the speaker offer plus the bonus gift included in there. So
okay, perfect. So look there.
Yeah, look there, because we've got some special stuff going on. So
absolutely
fantastic. Well, Lois, I have absolutely loved talking to you today, and absolute delight. And I think that people have got a lot of benefit from you, and hopefully they can now move into their relationships with a little bit of a different mindset, maybe without the expectations that we've had, or recognizing that expectations are fine as long as you're not attached to them.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's really important. But you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'm looking forward to chatting to you very soon.
Wonderful. You as well. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thanks, Lois.